Hi there. This week I've got a product review, which is the first one I've done of that actually. I was offered a set of Paul Rubens watercolors, and so this video is me having a try of using those, unboxing them, swatching them, and using them a little bit, and I'll let you know what I think. When I agreed to sample these watercolors, I didn't realize that would come with a nice watercolor journal. So that was a nice surprise. So I'm going to share with you the unboxing here, a bit of ASMR. And so this is how they arrived to me. And so they're little half pans, I think they might be called. They're quite little wee dishes there. I have been procrastinating getting watercolors for the longest time, so it's interesting to have them arrive like this and for me to be able to sample them. This is the brochure with all of the colors that are available. Not every single one of those colors is in this box, I believe. And so then I had to go about unwrapping them all, and I was silly enough to take all the little labels off and put them aside. And then, I did actually take one at a time and put it back where it was. So I had a rough idea when I then came to open up the little color chart that I was getting the colors correct. Oh gosh, talk about complicate a simple thing, but that's what I sort of did. So yeah, I thought I would open them all up, and then I went ahead and swatched them. And the journal, I wasn't quite sure what to expect, so I opened that up to investigate, and that came with watercolor paper already in there, and with the little binder, so that's quite wonderful. You can take some pieces in and out. So I thought, all right, great, I will think of something to do on that paper to demonstrate these watercolors. Here we have, did I already show you that? That was the chart, the color chart. So I was just sort of familiarizing myself with what is on the chart, what came in the tin, and then I had to go about opening them all up. I opened these all up in a flurry of excitement, and then I had to go through and match all of the labels to the paints. So it was a bit mad. Anyway, now I found this card which came with this set, which I thought was wonderful to do swatching with. So unfortunately, as I did the swatches, I didn't realize that I didn't have the whole page in the frame to show you every single color, but I move it a little further along in the video so you'll be able to see them all. But I was really quite impressed with the colors. It was, you know, there was more than I thought I was getting, and I took a leaf out of Sandy Hester's book and put all the warms on one side and all the cools on the other, because that really made sense to me when I saw her make a palette doing that. So yeah, it's enjoyable. I have always loved seeing paints laid out like that in a sort of a rainbow type thing. So that's the swatching, and I noticed they're very vibrant, beautiful, vibrant colours, which is lovely. I got a little confused with how I put the browns in, because I was sort of impatient and wanted to just sort of open them all up. And The extra little one was a second ultramarine, and that's ivory black and Mars black. So I'll do a little swatch of the Mars black. These a little deeper, sorry, a little deeper Mars black, ivory black. So I made this drawing with an Artline pen, black permanent pen, Uniball Micro. And it's interesting actually, after I've added all the colour, I realised I kind of enjoy just a plain line drawing. So I generally won't colour them in my little sketchbooks. So, but I wanted to try I just wanted to try the watercolours on this paper, on my little art creations journal. And so I thought, all right, let me just messily kind of paint this, or loosely paint this painting. I had an image, I think, I was inspired by a bouquet on a Pinterest. You can just look up flower bouquets and see there's a plethora of possibilities on Pinterest. So that's what I was inspired by, to just sort of get that bunch of flowers with the kind of warm kind of tones, and there was pinks and reds, and so I thought, well, that will give me a chance to just have a play with a bunch of these colours. And the nice thing, I suppose, is when you use watercolour like this, the line work doesn't all get covered over like with acrylic. So I enjoyed that. You still can see the line work at the end. So I might just sort of speed this up a little bit so that you can enjoy seeing the end result of this one. Now, as this video was specifically for being a review of these watercolor paints, I didn't spend time making the drawing and filming that. I just wanted, again, I found a picture, just looking through Pinterest, inspirational pictures, and this was a little interior that was mostly kind of white with green features, which is, my favorite color. So I was drawn into it, and it just had all these little
vase shapes and like pottery ceramic things that were just gorgeous. And even the little cross on the wall, it just all sat together so lovely. And I thought, let me put that on my page. I mean, I love this drawing so much. I was almost loath to paint it in, and then I reminded myself I can just redraw it. It will never be identical, but I could redraw it if I wanted to. So I particularly loved this image, and I was curious to see what would happen if I brought color to it. I took myself into YouTube and watched a watercolor tutorial because I'm not a watercolorist. And so I wanted to sort of get some idea of, well, how can I work with these? What am I supposed to do? And so what I learned was to color a section in with my brush with no color on it, just with water. You color an item in, and then you can just dot the color in, which I've done that kind of technique using ink. So to me, there were similarities to using watercolor that there is to ink. But this idea of wetting the little section and then adding just a tiny dab of color, and then it runs and fills in the gap, fills in everywhere that you've painted with the water. So that's sort of beautiful. That absolutely, I guess, one of the joys of watercolor, how it can spread around and blend with itself, and it can be re-wet. The opposite to acrylic, you can re-wet the watercolor and it will come alive again and move again. So it's a very interesting medium in that way for me. I've not used it very much, but I was glad to notice that this set had a few greens, so I was able to have a play with a few different greens and adding a little bit of different browns, toned it down a little bit. So yeah, I really enjoyed just this. It's really quite a relaxing pastime, adding the colour to a drawing that I had made. And there was no way it was going to look like the original photo of the room, but bringing my own lines to the drawing and then colouring it in was a really quite lovely, satisfying and relaxing little exercise. So that worked out well, because this is the first time I've done a product placement type thing, where I was approached via an email, would I like to review and make a video about a set of watercolours. And I was thinking, wow, that's out of the blue, interesting. Okay, maybe I don't mind doing that. And so because it was, a new box of colours, which I have loved receiving since I was a very young child, a new bunch of pens or pencils or crayons or any of that always delighted me. So it was sort of quite lovely to receive, almost like a present in the mail, of a new tin of watercolours. And I had recently received the other travel set of watercolours from my dear friend. So now I have 2 lots of watercolours to play with, and for me that's exactly what it is a medium that will allow me to play with it, because I have no kind of desire to become like a full-time watercolour artist type thing. So I think it's kind of nice to have been introduced to a medium that I can encourage myself to play with, because sometimes when you're a professional artist, you forget the value of playing, you forget how to play, because especially if you go ahead and use the material that's familiar to you and what you use in your finished artwork all the time, it's sort of part of your thinking process, perhaps, that there's always a possibility that this could become something to sell. And there's a big difference in the energy that sometimes can then, or the pressure or the weight or whatever it is that can get added to that thought. Not all the time, but definitely sometimes. And maybe it's a conscious choice that you have to make and re-establish your own inner freedom to make for yourself first and then let it go out. Whatever it is, it's an ongoing communication between yourself and your parts inside and your inner artist and your inner child. And so I just love this idea that the inner child would receive this gift, in a way like this. This new set of watercolors is a gift for my inner child, and then I've brought the artist in to make a drawing and make this official little video to talk about and show you the result of using them. But then after that, I can use these to play with. And so I quite like finding ways to be a permission giver to yourself to not take life too seriously all the time. And, because there's a lot going on, and it can all just get a bit heavy and a bit too serious. So I love having ways to invite the playful ones within to have their turn, and make space for them, facilitate that for them. I think it's a real beautiful opportunity that we can create. I quite enjoyed mixing the colour over to the side in the little dish, and you didn't need to use very much, and you can get all this this lovely kind of washes and stuff. It really was enjoyable, and I quite like when it makes its own little patterns, like in the middle of that chair and over to the right of the table when I revisited it, or just the way the watercolour behaves. It can make its own interesting kind of texture-y type patterns. So I kind of love that. Thanks for watching. So I really enjoyed using these. I liked, the shape of the tin, the layout of them, having all the warms on one side and cools on the other. That really worked for me. and quite a lot of room to sort of puddle around and make little mixtures, which was nice. I don't know what else to say except they were lovely with their pigments. They're bright colors and everything. They especially behaved nicely in the on the watercolor paper, and with the little journal with the what's this called? Oh, actually, I did do another painting with them in last week's video. So that hasn't really, that was like quite a watery, I was trying to get the sort of the purple. And this is also using these same watercolors. But again, I think they probably behave a little differently on this paper. This is an Art Creations journal. But I wanted to be able to use them in here to be able to just play. I wonder where the other colourful, there it is. So that's the one I showed the video of. And so it hasn't gone through the page. So it all has stayed happily on that page, which I think that's really helpful when you want to do art journaling and just do the next page and not have the colour go through. So yeah, I think it's worked out really nice. I especially loved doing the little splatters on that one. So yeah, how nice to receive a new set of watercolors to play with. All right, see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.